Okay, welcome everyone to this council meeting of October 28th. Moved by Karen Terziano, seconded by Brian Thompson. Be it resolved, the regular council meeting agenda dated Monday, October 28th, 2019 be adopted as printed and circulated with the following addition. Under invited and ceremonial presentations, we're going to present the mayor's 2019 golf tournament check presentations. I need a two-thirds vote on this one. Any questions? All those in favor? Whew, we got that one through. Thank you. It's carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. Now we're going to kick you all out. Apologize. Motion moved by Karen Terziano, second by Brian Thompson. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public, commencing now at 6:02 p.m. for the purpose of considering matters pertaining to the following sections of the Municipal Act. Section 2392C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. That's confidential report number CAO 2019-21, property within the urban core. And also confidential report CIO 2019-20, Director of Community Services position. All those in favor? That's carried. Just want to let you know, the business of a closed session, the staff was provided direction regarding a potential acquisition of property that's related to report CAO 2019-21. And then with regard to report CAO 2019-20, the Director of Community Services staff was provided direction. So really nothing to report there. Okay. Invited and ceremonial presentation. Very excited to have with us Royal Canadian Legion Branch 232 at the Poppy campaign. We have President Bruce Frank here, Mandy Boothby, who's first vice president, John Bibby, second vice president, Tony Evans, the sergeant at arms, Betsy Brooks, the Poppy chair, and Val Agnew, president of the Ladies Auxiliary. Welcome. And this is one of my favorite things to kick off the Poppy campaign, because I think I usually get one. Well, I had that on earlier. I didn't want to keep that on while you guys were here. But welcome. Would you like to say a few words, Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor. It's getting to be a habit coming here once a year or more. It's always nice and see your friendly faces. Last Friday was the beginning of our Poppy campaign, and now that we are all together, we would like to do a proper. It doesn't really start until we present council and the mayor with the first poppies. So, Mr. Mayor, if you'd be kind enough to step up.
I would.
You've never stabbed me yet, have you? No. And this is the last chance. And I will just do a quick John Bibby, Mandy Boothby, Betsy Brooks, Tony Evans went the other way, and the president of the Ladies Auxiliary, Val Agnew. Now, if we have councilors, please come up and line up. Tony and the executive will give you your thoughts.
Are we going to do a group photo? Yeah, we can do that. Where do you want to do that? In the middle here? When you get your coffee, we're going to go to the middle.
Oh, okay.
Just so everybody knows, we also presented a check to the Legion for our wreath that Remembrance Day. And thank you. I'm sorry. Get to the back.
Sure, people have fun. Come on there, come on.
I don't know, I think you qualify for
I'll go over here and there. How's that? You have to lay on the front, Brad. No, you were. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We will. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we'll all see on Remembrance Day here.
Absolutely. I believe so. Is he here? I don't see Mike Malone. So we will we'll do the deputation and then come back. we're gonna skip over the mayor's golf tournament stuff and go to the deputations, because I think the guy who's supposed to bring the checks isn't here, so we'll come back to that. So Randy Mitson is, where is he? Oh, there he is. Have you been sitting there the whole time, Mike? Did you hear me? Thank you. All right. All right. Maybe I need glasses for the far away part now, too. We're going to stick with, Randy, stay there. Don't move just yet. Oh, my goodness. What a comedy show. So the Mayor's 2019 golf tournament, we supported 4 different organizations, all health-related. Christine's Place Pregnancy and Family Support Center, an ED Enliven Center for Wellbeing and Cancer, the Community Living Huntsville, and of course the Huntsville Hospital Foundation again. A grand total of $58,481 was raised, and so each group will get almost $15,000, $14,620 from that. And so I'm excited to hand out these checks. So we'll start with Jan Adair at Christine's Place. Come on up here. We'll do this. Enliven Center, Suzanne Willett, Community Living, Catherine Crane, Hospital Foundation. Thank you. Now you all have to come up here and have your picture. All right. Okay. Randy Mitson from Algonquin Outfitters is here. The charity paddle art auction from Culture Days 2019. I'm sure it was another outrageous success. Randy, come on down and talk to us. Welcome. Terry, did you want to come down too? Okay. These things wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Terry Suter, so come on down, Terry. That's right.
She made sure that I wore plaid. And then she
Very good.
wore plaid too, so. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to come tonight and thank everybody here for the support that we had from all of our partners. We had 5 partners this time around. Our charity art auction is 2 parts. There's a contest part of it that runs 18 months where we try to get local artists to create beautiful works of art. And can I pass these around?
Please do.
I just wanted to bring some so that you guys could see some of the work that was done.
Wow.
That's Janine Marston's and this is Don McKenzie's. These were 2 of the paddles that were entered in our contest. And then what we do is we auction off the paddles to raise money for charities.
It's awesome.
So we had 5 charities this time around, the town of Huntsville being one of them for the Future Public Art Acquisition Fund.
Awesome.
We also had the Tom, everybody has a really long name.
Yeah.
We had the Oxnard Lake for Arts and Culture as a partner also, the Tom Thompson Gallery in Owen Sound, Artists in Classrooms program, and the Art Gallery in Algonquin Park is our 5 charities.
Wonderful.
So last time we did this 2 years ago, we raised just over $20,000. Sorry, 182 artists. Did I not say that? Did I think it was that right? We had 182 artists participate, which is actually a little less than last time. We had, so the auction was online, so that people went online to bid and see all the paddles and everything. I took pictures of all the paddles, which was a wonderful task of climbing up and down a ladder 182 times. And we had 48,000 people visit our website.
Wow. It's amazing.
So a lot of traffic to it. The last time we did it 2 years ago was the very first time. We'd never done an auction before. We learned some lessons, and I think we were much more successful this time around.
Wonderful.
Did I miss anything else? No? Okay.
As always, Randy
So-
works really, really hard on this. That's
So
all.
we raised just shy of $33,000.
Wow. Awesome.
Anyways, there's lots of people that go in. Everybody says thank you to me, but it's really everybody else
Yeah.
that does the work, from our artists to our partners to the community to all the people that bid on paddles. And that we had way more people bidding on paddles than we had paddles.
That's awesome. Well, Randy, listen, we really appreciate the effort, the work that goes in it. Never mind climbing up and down that ladder 88 times. We know this stuff takes a lot of work, and so we appreciate what you've put into it and what you do to, add not just to the charitable coffers of our community, but also to the cultural vibrancy of it as well. So thank you. Thank you very much.
That would be great to
I'm never shy to have my photo taken.
I'd also just like to add that Randy and I are busy planning 2021.
Yes.
We've got that pretty much suitcase, so if you'd like to paint or carve or bedazzle or anything of paddle, please let us know.
And it is all of that, too. People, we had macaroni paddles.
I'll let you guys look. All right.
Because Terry does a lot to help us with this business. It is. You need some of your phone to jump in here for a second. You hold that. I'll hold this. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Thank you very much. And these are actually staying in Huntsville. Rich bought both of these. Or we wanted to make sure we had some that stayed here. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get into the rest of the meeting, I do want to acknowledge there's a number of very special guests we have here this evening. I've identified a few folks before the meeting began, but in the very back row, we've actually saved seats for these distinguished gentlemen up front, actually. But former Mayor Len Clark is here, former Mayor Ron House, former Mayor Claude Dowdy, former Mayor Bob Addison, and his lovely wife Clara are here. Thank you for being here. District Chair John Klink is here. Thank you for being here. Muskoka Lakes Mayor Phil Harding is here. Thank you, Phil. Bracebridge Mayor Graydon Smith is here. Deputy Mayor of Bracebridge Rick Maloney is here. Former Councillor Stone is here. Detachment Commander Graham is here. And Councillor Coleman is there somewhere. There she is. Franny, thank you for being here. All people who have served on our council as well, thank you very much for being here. So I just wanted to identify them before we and our Accessibility Advisory Chair for many, many years, Deb Kerwin, is here. I see she brought her husband, too. That's nice to see you, too, Mr. Kerwin. Okay, we're going to get the rest of this done. I have a motion moved by Jonathan Weeb, seconded by Karen Terziano. Be it resolved, the council meeting minutes dated September 23rd, 2019, be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Reports from committee. Councillor Thompson, would you like to highlight for us the Huntsville Public Library Board minutes from the September 3rd and 16th?
I'm going to keep it brief. A lot of what's been going on at the library is in camera. There have been a lot of renovations been going on as well, and they're still, I think, pretty close to being buttoned up at this point. Replacement of our CEO is ongoing, and so we expect to have an announcement hopefully within, maybe by next meeting of council, Your Worship, but that's about it. Thanks.
Okay, any questions for Councillor Thompson? Okay, seeing none. Deputy Mayor Terziano, how are things going at the BIA Board of Management from September?
Things are going well, thank you, Your Worship. I don't actually have anything from the September meeting because I reported on it all at the last council meeting. So I'm always a meeting ahead of what's in our package.
Oh, well, there you go. We'll never know since I missed the last meeting, so there you go. Any questions of Deputy Mayor Terziano? Okay, Committee of Adjustment from October 16th. Councillor Fitzgerald, anything of particular excitement at Committee of Adjustment?
Nothing that was overwhelming. There were 4 applications, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions? Okay, Councillor Weeb, an update from the Huntsville Lake Base Chamber of Commerce, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually, the meeting was actually canceled this month, but the group did hold a strategic visioning session, as I had mentioned that they were leading up to that. Unfortunately, I had to be in 2 places at once, so I was not able to attend that, but a lot of good discussion came out of it, as I know, and they're going to be making an announcement at the AGM coming up in January about a 3-year outlook. So I think I'll extend the invite now to come to the AGM in January, and I'll provide more information as we get closer, but there'll be more to discuss at that time, and hopefully we'll see you all there.
Great. Any questions for Councillor Weeb? Okay, Councillor Alcock, the Municipal Accommodation Tax Tourism Entity Update. Anything to share with
Just
Council?
quickly, we did have 2 board meetings, and the most exciting part is we approved the format for the funding application, and we're hoping to get a press release out in the next 2 weeks to identify where people submit the application, where they find the application, and we're thinking that the closing date for that will be November 29th, if all goes well.
Okay, any questions of Councillor Alcock? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into reports for adoption. Moved by Karen Terziano, second by Jonathan Weeb. Be it resolved, the Operations and Protective Services Committee meeting minutes dated September 25th, 2019, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Operations, Councillor Thompson, anything to highlight for us there?
Actually, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, quite a good meeting and a lot of discussion about various topics, one being cemetery and property at the Holy Trinity New Home Church, and we've agreed to go into an agreement with the John Riviere Anderson and his gang, his group, with regards to how we can accommodate what their needs are and yet and fulfill the requirements of the Cemetery Act and so on and so forth. We had a deputation from Dr. Grebe, Dr. Lowell Grebe of the Sport Lab, and this was with regards to the save station being donated to the town of Huntsville. And the initial, I think, suggestion was that it would go into Rivermill Park. I think that since then, the matter's been discussed a little bit further, and I think now we're looking probably at finding a place for it on the town hall. And going back to Dr. Grebe on that, he seems to think that's probably a favorable place for it. We have an agreement, an MOU with the Huntsville BIA to have a skating rink this year in Rivermill Park. It'll be behind the bandstand type of thing. We had, of course, reports on roads and fleets and so on, just talking with our, over the fireworks bylaw that we had looked at passing at Public Works. We've decided to defer that for further discussion. So that's on, will be at a future meeting for sure. Expanded parking at Rivermill Park, which is always an exciting area of discussion with council and members of the public type of thing. As a result of that, Director Hernan and myself, along with Colleen McDonald, we did a bit of a tour of the town and looked at some of the opportunities and possibilities we have for parking, for some expansion of boat launches and that kind of thing, parking and so on, which has always been a major challenge, I think, in the town of Huntsville since we lost the one a few years ago over by the arena. But we've come up with some ideas, and we're working on them, and we're going to be putting together a report to come back to committee and/or council in the next cycle, And I think we've got some great suggestions. We've been in discussion also with the District of Muskoka with some possibilities with regards to their property, one of them being the Mount View wastewater treatment plant. That's a very sizable piece of property over there, and it's not being utilized. We had Commissioner Hahn here to show him what we thought were maybe some possibilities over there that we could use to fit in with our strategic plan and so on and so forth, and also with plans or future plans for Rivermill Park and how all this might tie together. And so we've got a sign-off from the commissioner and also the directors, Marcus Furman and also Mark Misko, who would both be involved in the discussions. And they all think that our ideas have merit, and so we're ready to discuss that further and come up with a report or a presentation to council. And yeah, it was quite a great couple of days that I spent with Steve and with Colleen type of thing. So and that was about
Okay.
it.
All right. Any questions of Councillor Thompson? Okay. Thank you for that report. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? That's carried. Motion moved by Jonathan Weeb, seconded by Tim Withey. Be it resolved that the Community Services Committee meeting minutes dated September 26th, 2019, and recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Councillor Weeb, anything to highlight?
Thank you, Your Worship. There are a few items, you'll see them on your agenda. We discussed Q3. We discussed the leisure guide, what the right number of printouts is for that guide. We settled on a number for 8,000 this time around, but our staff has been tasked with keeping an eye on what's the right number, and so that we're not wasting too many, but we still get them into the hands of our people, of our citizens. So that's ongoing. But I want to highlight some of the new information that came out, and really what it was highlighting the amount of work that both Simone Babineau and Greg Pilling have been putting in the interim with the absence of our Director of Community Services. So I think it was a good reminder to see all the things that are ongoing in that department, and it's a big file. And I can't say this enough, they've stepped up over the last 4, 5, 6 months to fill that gap, and I'm incredibly proud of that team. So that was said then, but I think it's important to say that here, so I wanted to highlight that.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions of Councillor Weeb? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. A motion moved by Tim Withey, seconded by Jonathan Weeb. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee meeting minutes dated September 26, 2019, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated with the exception of recommendation Corp 60, 2019, to be pulled and voted on separately. Deputy Mayor Terziano, anything to highlight for us there?
Thank you, Your Worship. Most of the discussion was around the motion that was pulled, and so what remained was we passed the online engagement platform extension that will have a budget impact in 2020, and we did a delegation of authority bylaw update. And as I said, most of the discussion is in the motion that's been pulled, so
Okay.
I'll leave that.
Okay, any questions about the minutes except for that one particular motion? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Okay, so there's a bit of clerking to be done here. The original motion was moved by Tim Withey, seconded by Karen Terziano. Be it resolved that Council approve the budget and financial controls policy as attached to Report Corp 2019-54, and further that policy number budget and financial 07, budget reporting capital, be rescinded, and further that policy number budget and financial 08, budget reporting operating, be rescinded. That was the original. And the motion to substitute it is moved by Tim Withey, seconded by Karen Terziano. Be it resolved that Corp 2019-54 budget and financial controls policy be substituted for Report Corp 2019-54 as amended. Okay, so I'm not reading the entire report. I think there was some language that the committee didn't like. So in the absence of reading the report twice, the report as attached, I believe, is redlined, and it shows all this information. So I'll start with you, Councillor Withey.
I'll start by apologizing and taking full blame for this.
It's big of you.
This was something that I felt needed to be relooked at from a number of angles, not just sort of cleaning up redundancies and things, but some significant changes as well. I'd like to thank Julia and Riva for sitting down with me and humoring me with with my changes, and they're there for you to read. I think there's some important changes in there as far as how things are getting reported, and I'm pleased with the result. I don't know if there's anybody who has any questions about that or anything, so.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments about it? Okay, all those in favor of the substitute motion? That's carried. So am I reading this one now again? I don't, okay. I do have to read it again. Okay, moved by Tim Withy, seconded by Karen Terziano, as amended. This motion as amended. Any questions? Any questions about process? All those in favor? That's carried. All right. Good. Okay. I have a motion moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Dan Armour. Be it resolved that the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting minutes dated October 1st, 2019, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Councillor Armour, anything to highlight for us there?
Thank you, Worship. Everybody can have a read through the minutes of the meeting. Something that highlighted would be the fact that I'd like to do a shout out to Kay Leslie and Laura Shaw, who assisted the town with the tours during the Accessibility Week. It was great of them to come in and volunteer their time 2 days. And but everything else is basically there. We passed put a recommendation for the accessibility plan for 2019 update to be submitted. And yeah, it was a good meeting. And also, sorry, we'll be meeting now bi-monthly instead of quarterly.
Great. Okay, any questions of Councillor Armour? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. We have a motion moved by Nancy Alcock, seconded by Dan Armour. Be it resolved, the Municipal Heritage Committee meeting minutes dated October 16, 2019, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Who chairs that? Is that you? Councillor Alcock, would you like to highlight those minutes for us, please? I apologize.
We don't hold it very often, so maybe that's why you didn't know. Anyway, it was a very short meeting, and we had 2 items, both for information. Terry wanted to update us on upcoming conferences. One is on the Ontario Heritage Conference in 2020, just highlighting all of the advantages that, we might consider going, and also to highlight the Community Heritage Ontario Workshop that is being held in Gravenhurst tomorrow. That was
Great,
it.
thank you. Any questions of Councillor Alcock? All those in favor? Motion is carried. The motion moved by Nancy Alcock, seconded by Dan Armour. Be it resolved, the Development Services Committee meeting minutes dated October 16, 2019, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated, with the exception of recommendation number DEV 163-19 to be pulled and voted on separately. Councillor Alcock, anything to highlight from those minutes?
I'll be very quick. I know we're trying to whip through these things, so I actually made notes to speed it up, just for your benefit, Your Worship.
This is a special day for me.
It is a special day, I know, and I do go on. So we did have 4 zoning amendments. All 4 were approved, one of which has been pulled. Just to highlight there, one was an approval for a new facility for Ron Pratt Electric in a mixed-use zone. That was a favorable response from the surrounding neighbors. We also allowed the building of 2 new pump houses in an institutional camp zone with an exception. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that one, it was before committee about less than a year ago, and there was a lot of objection from a neighbor, and they subsequently met, collaborated on a solution, so it turned out to be a win-win for everybody, and everybody was happy, so it was kind of neat. We had 2 site plan approvals, one for an addition to the Muskoka lumber on Marsh Road, and the other, very excited about, for Greystone's 30-unit multi-residential building at 450 Muskoka Road 3. And given the site plan and the plan for the surrounding area, I'm excited because I think it's great design, and my understanding is they're going to try and bring the units in at a reasonably affordable ownership price with high-end fixtures. So that was kind of exciting. We also approved proceeding with Phase 2 of our digitizing our building permit system. We approved a number of bylaw changes, including the downtown parking bylaw, changing the hours from 2 to a 3-hour limit. We updated the smoking bylaw to account for the practice of vaping in our downtown area. I believe Andrew consulted with Simcoe Muskoka Health Unit on that and got some really great wording. We updated the exotic pets bylaw to tighten our regulations regarding the use of animals for entertainment and also to adjust some of our definitions. This is a really exciting one. That was, we celebrated the achievement of Andrew Stiller and Corey Cruson for receiving their Achievement of Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Certified designation. So that was a big deal, a really big deal, and we offered both of them a plaque and congratulated them, so that was good. And finally, we had a quick discussion on our development charges and growth-related projects for budget consideration. It was very quick, but it was an interesting conversation. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Alcock? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. We have a motion moved by Nancy Alcock, seconded by Dan Eimer. Be it resolved that, this is the motion we've pulled, Council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z26, 2009 HTE, changing the zoning on a portion of the lot from a residential 2 holding to residential 3 holding, with an exception to limit the number of permitted units. Who would like to start with this one? Councillor Weed.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually had this pulled. I recognize that I was the lone dissenting voice at Development Services on this file. However, I wanted it to be dealt with separately here at Council because I wanted, and I was hoping everyone had a chance to look into it who wasn't at the meeting. And I just wanted it, I wanted to restate my position that I felt that the zoning that exists there currently, which is an R2, allows a certain density. There is some multi-residential that's permitted, and I felt that that was an appropriate zoning, and there was no need to raise it, even by 1 unit on the one block and 4 units on the other. I felt that that the developer could work within the limits of that zoning, and therefore I felt that it wasn't worth passing. However, like I said, I was a lone voice, but I did want it to be dealt with and highlighted at this table to give everyone a chance to look at it and vote separately. So here it is.
Any questions about the motion? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I did take a look at that as well. And a question I have, I guess, would go maybe through to, from a public works standpoint, but I know that access to that property is at the end of Mackenzie Drive, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that starts to go up fairly steeply towards the town line, the extension of what would be the town line. And I'm just wondering, what would be the grade if we're talking about the density that we're talking about there? Are we talking about a grade that's going to present problems for snow removal and that kind of thing? I'm just wondering if someone could give me an answer to that.
Director Hernan?
I know Brandon Hall reviewed the files, and there was nothing flagged on it for me, so it's got to meet the building code, so I'm assuming the grades were able to be met there. Which, we are talking the top of Yonge Street, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was not flagged for me for any issues at all.
Okay. Councillor Alcock?
If I may, I just wouldn't mind commenting on Councillor Thompson's question. One of the conditions of approval of this application was putting in an entrance from Town Line Road, so that both sites would be accessed from Town Line Road. Yep.
Okay, any other questions about the resolution? All those in favor? Those opposed? It is carried again. Okay, moving on to bylaws. I have a motion moved by Dan Armour, second by Jason Fitzgerald, Be it resolved that bylaw number 2019-93 and bylaw numbers 2019-104 to 2019-117 inclusive be reported and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 28th day of October 2019. You don't have to read the list anymore, apparently. Are there any questions about any of those bylaws? All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, we're moving on to new business. Council correspondence, you have that from September 14th to the 18th. If there's anything anybody's interested in having, let us know. District of Muskoka update. Would anybody like to do an update? Councillor Alcock, you look eager.
Again, thank you, Your Worship. I was told to be brief. It's not 7:15.
For the record, I
So-
told no one to be brief. I just want
But we
everyone to know
had
that.
direction very
I
clearly.
told no one to be brief.
So I also made notes on this, too. So, very quickly, October 3rd, we had our third Muskoka Housing Task Force meeting, approximately 45 to 50 people, so it was well attended. We have 4 subcommittees that are part of that, and they're all making great progress. We're hoping that we might have a preliminary set of recommendations going to our Community and Planning Services Committee in December, so stay tuned for that. October 9th, we had a special Community and Planning Services meeting providing input into the district's 10-year housing and homelessness plan, and we're hoping to see our first draft of that at, I can't believe my own writing on this, but maybe November. Again, stay tuned for that as well. October 21st, I know this is council, but I have to say it because it's a planning-related item. Council unanimously approved the Town of Huntsville's new official plan. So that was really exciting, and I have to shout out to all of the planners who worked on that. Our own Kirsten Maxwell was brilliant, but there were a lot of district planners who worked on that as well. Summer Valentine, I would especially like to point out. So thank you all for that. October 24th, we had a regular CAPS meeting, and we had a fabulous presentation from the Manette Steering Committee. You may recall that that was created after there was a lot of controversy around proposed development in the Manette and Muskoka Lakes community. They had a lot of sort of preliminary recommendations that they were just presenting to the committee. They hadn't reported in a while. And one of the comments I had, which I believe was echoed by almost everybody on committee, that there were a number that seemed generic enough that we may at some point want to look at those for application here in Huntsville. So that was kind of cool. We approved the vacant land condominium project on Etwell Road for an additional 5 properties on a privately serviced road. Finally, committee supported the recommendation from staff to revise some of the framework in our Muskoka Affordable Housing Initiative Program, which is called MAHIP. And we're kind of allowing it to be more flexible to allow the district staff to support alternative housing projects. Because of our criteria, a number of people have come forward and approached municipalities, but also the district, asking for funding towards very specific projects. And a case in point might be a transitional house for youth. And under the existing criteria, it's not easy to sort of slot it in. So what they're recommending is allowing more flexibility to allow staff to look at some of those projects. So we thought that was cool. They're also adjusting some of looking at adjusting some of the funding levels. For example, the amount that we give to an applicant who wants to build a secondary suite in a house, they might get $15,000 from the district. We might up this ante to encourage more housing and see if there are more willing applicants. So that's the sort of thing, and we thought that was a great idea. We approved the addition of 15 new affordable rental units in the town of, in partnership with Community Living, South Muskoka and Bracebridge. There was a big update, and I won't go into all of this because it's a long thing, is on the Employment Services Transformation Initiative that the province started, and the district has played an important role in responding to the province's call for change. More on that to come. But we have moved forward, and we've made the second phase of the process that the province set up. So that's a really important initiative that the district is involved in. And finally, I just wanted to make a shout out because I'm on the executive of the Muskoka Watershed Council, and I just want to put this out there that they're constantly looking for new membership, new volunteers, or just people who want to come to all of the activities they do. They do a lot. I have attended some incredible workshops and some guest speakers we've had there where they're talking about issues that are really matter to what is important to hear to us in Huntsville. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Muskoka Watershed Council, and that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Alcott? Okay, the next update from Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and I too have been told to keep it short tonight. Not by Your Worship, but by someone very close to you. Maybe a deputy worship, I'm thinking more. In any event, yeah, we had quite a lengthy meeting, actually, at Public Works last week. One of the highlights of the first part of the meeting was we had the Riverside Public School, as some of you, and Councillor Withey's aware of this, I know, but there's a new traffic lights have been installed by Riverside Public School. And so there was a video that was prepared by the staff and some of the younger students at Riverside thanking the district. So we saw a presentation of that video, and that was quite charming. Work continues at the Golden Pheasant wastewater treatment plant, as you know. Again, we're spending zillions of dollars on that particular plant, and again, we awarded another contract of, I think, only $5 million this time towards that whole $45 million project. The biggest part of the meeting, quite frankly, about 2 hours more, had to do with garbage bins. So I will give you the Coles Notes version of this, and if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask me afterwards. But the MOEC had sent a directive to the district that they wanted a plan in place to have the removal of the 88 garbage bins that we have, or the garbage bins that we have in Muskoka, removed. There are a plan in place by November 30th of this year to have those 88 garbage bins removed. And 11 of them, I think it was 11 or 21. I've got chairman here and also Councillor Maloney, who also sit on that committee. So if I'm missing anything, tell me after, but don't shut it out, okay? But anyway, there are 11 that are considered high risk, and videos that we've seen in Public Works would show them very close to waterways. There's no secret, of course, we have a lot of water in Muskoka. But where it's really problematic is in places like Georgian Bay and Muskoka Lakes and so on and so forth. Although we have 15 in Huntsville. I wasn't even aware we have 15 garbage bins in Huntsville. But in Muskoka, all in all, we have 88. So the plan was, or the request from the MOEC was to have a plan in place to have all of these garbage bins removed by 2023. But what was most problematic was that the 11 that they considered the most problematic were to be removed by April of 2020. And as Councillor Wienko from Georgian Bay pointed out, well, we just got this directive, this letter in August of this year. Half of the cottagers in Georgian Bay are on islands. They wouldn't even be aware of this. So they're going to be arriving on May 24th, looking for a place to dump their garbage, okay? And there's no bins type of thing. So we had a representative from the MOEC there as well, and after all the discussion went through back and forth, and Chair Harding actually is our chair as well. Anyway, thanks to work by Chair Harding and the MOEC, they've given us a year grace, so we don't have to have that plan in place until November 30th of 2020 next year. So there's a lot more to the story than that, but that's sort of the Coles Note version. So we have, thanks to good work by members of our council and the representative from from the MOEC, and I guess it's maybe an indication of that whole new attitude coming out of Queen's Park, as we heard about today. This may have been as a result of that as well, so they've given us a year grace with regards to that initial directive. That's it.
Great. Any questions for Councillor Thompson? Councillor Withy?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks, Councillor Thompson, for your brevity. There was a couple of meetings I have to report on. First one was 21st of October. We had a joint hospital finance committee meeting where we had a deputation from Andy's Place in Port Carling concerning the beds they're trying to build there and the challenges with hospice funding and challenges with funding healthcare everywhere. We next had a presentation from the local share group from the MOC as a result of the task force. Interestingly, there was voices around the table that were concerned about the number of this local share and how it was derived and what the citizens of this district could possibly afford. And then that was most of that meeting. The next meeting was the 24th, which was just the Health Committee. And that was, we had a presentation by the paramedics about defibrillators. And I'm sure Councillor Armour knows this, but I wasn't aware that if you're a private business and you have a defibrillator, you should declare it to the paramedics and they will put it on their map, which I do in my office, mostly just for me. But yes, and the youngest, healthiest person in the office is the only one trained to work it, so they didn't bother training me. But anyways, you should have it on a list, I guess, in case somebody's in the neighborhood and it's there accessible. So I thought I'd do that little public service announcement. Of course, only when we're open. You can pay for the broken window. So anyways, that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I don't have an update. Councillor Reid, you filled in for a few times. Would you want to update anything?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you, Your Worship. We had a presentation from Dr. Gardner and the chair, if I could remember her name. Anyway, they from Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit, and there's been some ongoing discussions about keeping the unit, the Simcoe and the Muskoka portion intact as one unit. They're certainly in favor of that. There was a lot of discussion around the table actually about what the motion that they have on their books, what it means for us and how, what our position should be in relation to that. In the end, after plenty of discussion, it was decided that we would support the idea of maintaining that unity between the two as one, I guess as one unit, one health unit. But there was no mention about recommending either moving north or moving south to York, so that was left out. So that was the thrust of it. There was also a presentation from the task force, as Councillor Withy had mentioned. They had presented to council. There was a bit of discussion around it, but certainly no decisions or no grand plans came of that. They simply provided some information, some update on where they're at and what the recommendation is. And there's a certain mood to wait to see how the province reacts, etc. It's tough to know how the province will react, but that's where we're at so far. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of Councillor Withy? Councillor Weed. Okay. Okay, so the next item is, I think, about to be turned over to the Deputy Mayor. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge that a couple more distinguished visitors have arrived. Former Mayor Hugh McKenzie is here. Thank you for being here, Hugh. Councillor Clement from Bracebridge is here. And former Mayor of Lake Bays, Mr. Tom Pinkert, is here. Thank you for showing up as well and being here. So Deputy Mayor Terziano, the floor is yours. You want me to leave this chair, or can I stay here? Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure how I got to go first. I guess I drew the short straw. So it's certainly a bittersweet evening for most of us, especially staff. We've had the pleasure of working with the mayor for the past 5 years in his capacity as mayor. Some of us much longer. I think he came in 94. I was here in 92.
Yeah.
But we've had the pleasure of working together for all that time. And I know I speak on behalf of the entire team when I say it's been an absolute pleasure. So you've supported us, you've respected us in a professional role, you've fostered an environment that allowed each and every one of us to feel valued, to grow in our professional capacity, and to be our best self. I'm not going to look at you anymore. So on behalf of staff, I sincerely want to thank you for all your support and leadership. On a personal note, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor to serve as your CAO for the past 5 years. I can assure you that the inside of the walls of Town Hall will never be the same. We are so very proud of you, and we wish you all the best as you enter the next phase of your political career, as you proudly serve the people of Perry Center.
Can I open that later?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think it was used.
So, I just need you to move a little bit that way because we're going to use the screen at some point. Nobody told me to be brief, but I probably still will. So I've got big print here, but I'm still going to put my glasses on. So I'm not really sure whether I should call you Your Worship or the Honorable Scott Aitchison. I suppose technically both are correct. And I may slide away from the formality tonight and just think of you as Scott, my friend. It is a bittersweet day for many of us as we bid farewell to our mayor of the last 5 years and to a town and district council for most of the last 25 years. Those of us at this table and many staff have enjoyed the benefit of not only Scott the mayor, but also Scott the friend. I first met Scott back in 1994 when I worked for the town, and he was elected the youngest town and district councilor in our history. And young he was at just 21. As the picture depicts.
That makes me cry.
But he had the same passion back then that I know he plans to take to Ottawa now. I could not begin to list his accomplishments as a councillor or the fights that he fought over the years, but I do know that he carries Huntsville in his heart and has always battled for the betterment of Huntsville and Huntsville residents. As a mayor, Scott declared the town was open for business and that our goal was to cut down on unnecessary red tape and foster growth, and we did. He declared that we would tackle the housing issue regardless of whether or not it was a municipal mandate, and we've started. He listened while campaigning and put more money into infrastructure, roads in particular, and we did, and we still will. Scott has led this council well. We are all better people for having him as our mayor. As Scott's deputy mayor, I've had the chance to work closely with him and to learn from him. I've even picked up a few skills watching him. I will be forever grateful to you for the opportunity you've given me. As a council and staff, we have a couple of presentations to make to you tonight. The first gift is the very town hall flag that flew today on your last day as mayor of Huntsville. Scott's love for our town and our country and his respect for both had him last year declare that he never wanted to see a Canadian flag flying torn or shredded above town hall ever again, and so introduced a policy that our flag would be changed every month and that those flown flags would be used as special gifts or special occasions. I cannot think of anything more special than presenting to you, Mayor Scott Aitchison, this Canadian flag flown on the Town Hall of Huntsville on this your last day.
Wow, good fancy keys and everything. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Another very recent event took place just this past fall. Scott observed that the garden by the High Street entrance to Town Hall had seen better days, and he declared that he was going to replant that garden, and that in future it would be known as the Mayor's Garden or Council's Garden, and we would all become caretakers for that garden. So Scott, in your honor, we have ordered this plaque, which isn't in yet, but it will be mounted in the garden, and yes, we will caretake it in your absence, but anytime you're back in town serving your constituents, feel free to do some weeding. And finally, we have a little something for you to take to Ottawa, so you don't forget us. This picture, which I will give to you, has pictures of your first council at the age of 21, your 2 councils as mayor, you and some of the former mayors of Huntsville, and of course, your beloved town hall. So Scott, officially on behalf of council, we wish you every success, and in no particular order, a brilliant political future federally, a happy life, health always. Godspeed, your worship.
Thank you so much.
No, just before I turn the meeting back over to you,
Okay.
I think if there's any other counselors that would like to speak, we're going to give them that opportunity now.
We can go around. Councillor Alcock.
Okay. Again, I promise to be brief. I also wrote notes because I had a million things going through my head. First, this is the first time I've seen you since last Monday, so I haven't said massive congratulations to you yet. And so incredibly excited for you. I feel like I'm, and maybe a number of us are living with vicarious pleasure watching you go from here to this incredible journey in Ottawa. It's going to be awesome. And also, rest assured that a whole bunch of us will probably want to come up and visit soon. So I hope you're prepared. I wanted to start very quickly with, I remember when I was first elected, and I probably spent 3 or 4 months trying to get over the fact that I was sure that you really wanted the other Alcock to run. And then it didn't take me actually all that long to realize that you were okay with this one. And there were a lot of reasons for that. So the things I am going to miss terribly when you're not here, your leadership, your faith and respect in all of your council colleagues, your enthusiasm for taking risks and thinking outside of the box on issues and matters that I really care about. But most importantly, your wonderful sense of humor. Those are the things I'm really going to miss. I remember when I was first elected, you took a risk when you appointed me as chair of the planning committee. I remember you had a couple of provisos, but it was a massive risk, and I was nervous, but I soon realized that what you were saying was, I have the confidence in you that you can do it, and it meant the world to me. I believe that if I've learned how to do that, it's through you and your confidence. The other thing, it's been, and the deputy said this, it's been such an incredible pleasure to serve with you under your leadership. Working on initiatives that are near and dear to my heart, such as housing. I think we've had a really interesting time trying to advance that, and rest assured I will continue to try and do the things that you really started. For me, the most important thing that you have brought is your you've made serving on council fun. It's really unusual, I think, to be able to come to what is a really important forum in our community. And we make really hard choices, and we don't always agree. But under your leadership, we always leave as friends. I value our friendship. And I think that's really, those are the big reasons that you make me laugh. And so that, thank you for that, Scott. And bon chance, mon ami. I'll miss you.
Well, Scott, Your Worship, I can't really echo much more than what Nancy has already said. Thank you of my short political career here and for your support and leadership and your teachings as I went through. You're going to be missed, and you know I'll be in contact, so take care, my friend. Congratulations.
I don't know what else to say. Thanks for believing in me and encouraging me to be a better person around this table and in my community. You've supported me in all my good decisions and some of my bad ones, and I thank you for that, for your trust and your leadership. And we're still going to talk on the phone all the time, so thanks, Scott.
Well, I'm the newbie here, so I've only had, less than a year under your leadership. But yes, it's definitely proven to be something to look forward to and look up to. And I do definitely congratulate you on your next journey. And Scott, I thank you for sort of the advice and whatnot you have given over the last few months.
I'm not going to be brief at all, so I just want but I will be brief, I promise. Scott and I were talking the other day. Scott was on his way back from Ottawa and returning my phone call, even though it was 2 days later. But a lesson that we all learned is to always return your phone calls, right, Scott? During our conversation, I was sort of bragging to him that at the end of this term, I will have served almost a third of my life on council. And we got adding up the years that Scott's been on council. He's served already well over half of his life on council. So you put me in my place very quickly there, Mr. Mayor. I'm so proud of you. As a youngster that I knew, and as my mayor and a friend, and so proud that you have achieved this, what you have. It's been a great adventure, Scott, and you're on now to another great adventure, your next great adventure. So all the best, my friend, all the best.
Your Worship, I can't add anything more because everyone said it so well, but the one thing I can say and that I've thought about for a long time, and one of the biggest things that you've imparted on me is your reverence and respect for the institution that we all serve at, and your curiosity for history, your love for history, as it relates to the political arena, especially, has been something that has really inspired me. And so, of all the things you've taught me, I mean, I don't know if I'd be here without your help, but of all the things you taught me, that's one of the things that I'll cherish forever. So thank you.
I don't have anything to add. I have a few subtractions. So. It's been a long time since when I moved to town and you were this little kid running around Dean Murty's backyard. But anyway, I think it's, to me, talking to you about politics way back then, which we did, I'm not surprised about any of this. I think it's your natural next move. One of many more, probably. So, way to go. and the rest I probably isn't for public consumption, so.
All right. So I get the final word. The first thing I want to say to each and every one of you is that I've really enjoyed working with every single one of you. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad that you were all able to capture in your own way the reverence that we have for this office we hold, but also the joy that can be found in working with each other and serving the community. I've spent, 25 years of my life, which is basically my entire adult life, in and out of this building, working with many people. Dion and I haven't served on council very long together, but we went to school together all our lives, so we've known each other a long time. I served with every single one of the mayors up there except for Bob, but he's always been, available to me and offered wise counsel, and I appreciate that. Until you've been the mayor, you don't really know what it's like. And so I learned very quickly to rely on those folks that had been here before, because they get it more than anybody. And so to each of you, I want to thank you so much for the support you've given me. I'm honored that you're here tonight. That means a lot to me. I had a visit from Terry Clark earlier today, which was really special as well. He couldn't be here. But in many ways, Terry Clark's the reason I ran for council in the first place. He was a real leader in our high school. When I was the president of Students' Council, he started to mentor me then. And so, I was really appreciative of him stopping by. I'm so honored by the presence of Fran Coleman. We were elected together back then, 25 years ago. I was, as you can see, a lot skinnier. I'm just thrilled to have you here, Fran. Thank you so much. And I'm honored by the presence of my colleagues from around Muskoka. It's been a real joy to work with each and every one of you. And I'm really honored that you're here, and thrilled that, Tom Pinkert is here. Tom, is, a Huntsville resident and a Lake of Bays resident. When I was first elected, he was the mayor of Lake of Bays, and so we served on the Planning and Economic Development Committee together. And that was a real education for me. I learned a lot from Tom over the years. And so I'm grateful that you're here too, Tom. You should all know that the staff in this place are well served by this group. I think that we're well served by you, and I'm proud of the way we operate. Everyone knows that there's a job to get done. We expect excellence, but there's great camaraderie and a really collegial atmosphere around here. I think that's important, and I hope that that continues after I'm gone. I was thinking a lot about this day, and it's as exciting as it is to move on to the next chapter. I've already done 2 days of orientation in Ottawa, and it's very exciting. It's remarkably similar in some ways to the operation of a municipality with clerks and committees, and it's just really big. And so I'm excited to start that next chapter, but it is a bittersweet moment. I've loved serving on this council my whole life. And being the mayor has honestly been the greatest honor of my entire life. And working with all of you is something that I will never, ever forget. And leading this community has been the most enjoyable thing I've ever done. And I'll never have a better title than Your Worship. I swear it doesn't get any better than that. So thank you, everybody. I'm so appreciative of your support, and I'm not going to be here in this chair anymore, but I'm still going to be around. We're gonna work together with all the other communities in Perry, Sound, Muskoka as well, and we're going to continue the fight on important issues like housing, but not just here in Huntsville, but all over and all across this country. And so this has been a great training ground for me. I thank you all for your hard work and your effort and your support. I'm going to miss you very much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Please sit down now. I have a motion, moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Dan Armour. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2019-118 be received, numbered and ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 28th day of October 2019. All those in favor? That's carried. I have a motion, moved by Dan Armour, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:34 p.m. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. All right.